All right. So you finally figured out the project that you want to code. You began coding. You're feeling good. Life happens and you have to stop or take a break from coding. By the time you get ready to go back to coding, you now have new inspiration to do something different. And the project that you originally started, you no longer finish. Look, we've all been there. I've done it. You've done it. What I want to talk about today is some simple things that you could put in place to help make sure that you actually finish the projects that you start so that you can get the most from it, learn, build upon those, and maybe then navigate to doing something different. So the first thing I have that I want to suggest to you that worked for me was to plan the finish line. If you're running a race, you don't know how long you're going to be running until you know where that finish line is actually at. So with coding, you actually want to define what does done or finished looks like for this particular project, whether it's a CRUD app, a habit tracker, a banking application, whatever it is that you're deciding to code. Go ahead and take some time to structure out what exactly it is that you're looking to do and determine what will finish actually look like. That way, you know when to stop, when to cut it off, and you can say, hey, I've finished this project. Do I want to add something else to it? Or do I want to go ahead and just move on to something different? At the end of the day, you'll continue to code forever because there are endless things that you can add to a project if you don't know what it is that you want to do and have a idea in mind of what finish looks like. So go ahead and designate that finish line so that you know when to stop, move on, or add on to the project so that you have that gratification knowing that you actually finished what it is that you started. The next thing that I have for you is to designate time that you're actually going to code. So for me, if you're like me, rather, you have a busy life, you have work, you have school, you have a wife that's actually coming into the picture right now while you're trying to do this. There's a multitude of things that come up that's going to pull you away from actually coding. But you know, just like I do, in order for you to get better, you have to dedicate time in order to do so. For me, I work a 9 to 5 where I'm typically out of the house from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I designate time either before my work shift or after my work shift, sometimes on my lunch breaks and days off, to make sure that I have time to code. And the time to code doesn't have to be hours on end. For me, I started out with 25-minute increments with 5-minute breaks. So that's a 30-minute block where I code nonstop for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, and come right back to coding. Now, in that 25 minutes, there's no YouTube, there's no scrolling on social media, there's no responding to text message. It's just me locked in, quiet, or whatever music or podcast that I have on in the background to kind of give me some noise, and I'm locked in on coding. I'm not wasting time doing anything else. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that you actually create or open up a new desktop on your computer, because most Windows machines and even Macs allow you to open up multiple desktops. Have a designated desktop just for coding so that you don't get distracted with the ease of YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, whatever the social media platform or whatever your vice is that you do for leisure. You want to get away from that and focus strictly on coding. The last thing that I put in place for myself was making sure I knew what to code when. So I actually enjoy coding the back end and the back end logic more than I do the front end. The front end is fun, but the back end is where the logic, and it's kind of like the foundation of your application. So for me, I'm going to code my back end while I'm doing whatever, because I know that I enjoy that the most. But the front end, that's where I struggle the most at. So if you know you struggle with the front end, I typically like to do the things that I don't enjoy doing when I'm fresh, when my mind is open, when I'm open-minded to doing something different than what I enjoy doing. That way I'm more focused. I have more time for attention, and typically I give it a better effort if I'm fresh versus if I've just got off work. I'm tired. I feel like coding. I don't really feel like thinking too much. I just want to zone out and do what it is that I do. So in those moments, I'll typically code back end or some form of logic because I enjoy logic more than I do design. But figure out what works for you and make sure that you are doing what you don't enjoy doing when you're fresh, because you're more likely to stay focused and make sure that you see it through and finish it, versus if you do what you enjoy to do the most when you're fresh. By the time you get tired, you're not going to have that discipline, that consistency, and the motivation to see it through, because you already don't enjoy doing it. You're going to have to do some research to kind of understand what it is that you want to build out from your vision and putting it into practical application. So it's best to kind of do what you enjoy doing the most when you have less energy, and what you don't enjoy doing, do that when you have the most energy and your mind is fresh. But look, you don't need a whole bunch of tutorials. All you need is some structure, some consistency, and making sure you're documenting your journey with some small wins. If you do that, break it down into small chunks, stick to a schedule. I guarantee you'll find yourself finishing more of your projects than what you did previously. I'd love to hear some of your feedback in the comments or some of the things that worked for you along the way. What were some of the things that you did to make sure that you finish your projects, whether it's an accountability partner, whether it is writing it out and telling someone that you're going to do it and sticking to it? Leave it in the comments so that we can kind of talk about it, and we can see what best practices work and help someone else out. Hope you enjoyed this video. Keep the comments and suggestions coming, and I'll see you in the next one.